Hi, I'm Brian, or Fat Dad from Fat Dad's Woodshop. Children's toys are one of the great reasons that some people get into woodworking. They can make toys, wooden toys, for their children or their grandchildren, and a lot of these toys can be passed down from one generation to the next. But there are some hard and fast rules that one should follow when they're making toys for children, especially very small children like babies or young toddlers. And in this video, I'm going to make a baby rattle to highlight some of those techniques. Fat Dad Woodshop. Now, although I'm going to be using similar techniques, I'm not going to be building a baby rattle that looks exactly like this one. I want to highlight the fact that you can change the configurations of a lot of these baby toys and do whatever you want within certain limitations. One of the big things that you have to remember, though, when you're making any kind of a child's toy, especially if it's for a toddler or a baby, is that you have to make the diameters of everything big enough so that they cannot swallow, jam something down their throat, or jam themselves in the eye. And then, of course, everything has to be rounded so that nothing has got a sharp edge or a corner where they can hurt themselves. Another big thing is that the species of wood can sometimes play a factor in the toxicity of the child's toy, although most species of wood are not a problem. What's much more important is the actual finish that you put on the piece that you give to the child. I use a beeswax and mineral oil mixture that I show you how to make in an earlier video that I do, but any cutting board oil or cutting board conditioner will work just fine, or something that is food safe will work fine. Most products that are available on the market right now use mostly inert materials to make their finishes, but the problem is that anything with a drying agent, such as Danish oil or a lot of other like polyurethanes, anything that has a drying agent, the drying agent itself is actually toxic, and you will have to wait something like a month before that will completely cure out of the mixture after it's applied to the project. So you're just better off using something that's food safe to begin with. The project that I'm making this time is going to be a dumbbell shaped rattle with a rattle on either end. I'm making this a little bit fancier so that it's going to be made of maple and walnut, and it's going to be kind of a switch checkerboard type configuration, and I'll show you how this is all put together as I'm building it. The beads that I use for rattling, I just use unpopped popcorn. This is really common material, and it's a really nice project that you can build because just like a lot of other toys, you can see that it's using fairly small pieces of wood. You can often use scrap that you've got left over, but there again, do 5 seconds of research on the internet and make sure that the woods that you're using are not somehow toxic. Most of them are not. I know that it's been said that walnut is actually toxic. It is not according to the research that I've done, but just don't let your horse chew on it. But for the most part, most domestic woods, hardwoods in North America are just fine. I would stay away from soft woods for children's toys as a general rule, although I've seen a lot of children's toys made with pine, but I would probably give those to older children. But I'm going to make this one, and I'll glue up the blank, and I'll show you how this is all put together. Now I have this blank glued up, and it's kind of in a strange configuration, or at least it seems strange right now. You can see that these are just pieces that are glued onto the sides, and they're opposite each other. And then what I'm going to end up doing is sandwiching all of this walnut on either side of the maple. And once this is turned, it is going to look somewhat like a dumbbell in shape. And I'm going to, before I glue these pieces of walnut on, I'm going to drill a through hole in this maple here and here. I've already laid these out, and I'm going to clamp the walnut on the back side of that hole and drill a little bit into each side of the walnut to leave about this is going to be about a 1-inch hole, and it's going to be about 1 inch long, so it's going to go just a little ways into the walnut on either side, and that's going to leave me with a nice little recess for the this popcorn for the bead material. And when I glue the walnut on after these holes are drilled, I have to make absolutely sure that I don't get any squeeze out from the glue into the hole, because if that happens, I'll have popcorn beads just glued inside these holes, and they won't make the rattling sound that we need. Once that's done, I'm going to probably be able to put this on the lathe tomorrow after that glue is all set. So I've got my 1-inch Forstner bit here, and I've got that the bottom piece here is the walnut, and I've got this set so it'll just barely go about 1/8 of an inch into this walnut, and then I will turn this whole thing around and do the other piece on the other side with the clamps holding it all together, and then I will glue it all together with the beads inside. And now I'm going to start gluing this blank up, and the holes here will help me line everything up. I'm going to take and put some glue on the blank, and I'm going to make sure that the glue is close to but not all the way up to the hole, because I don't want any squeeze out going inside the hole and gluing the beads. When I drop these in here, I'm only going to put in about 3 or 4 beads, because you don't need very many in this small little hole. And then I'm going to let this set up overnight to cure so that it won't split apart on me when I put it on the lathe. Okay, it's the next day, and now I have my blank and everything is glued up and tight, and the rattles are actually inside here, so this is technically already a rattle. I did this in a slightly weird configuration. I mean, you absolutely don't have to do it in this way, but you can see on my blank that I left plenty of space so that I can have my tools far away from the spinning pieces of metal here. And what I'm going to do is make this into a roughly dumbbell shape, and I'm going to turn this into a cylinder first, and then I am going to lay out some lines, because it is essential that I do not cut into the open cavities that are inside these parts of the blank here, and cut into the openings that have those rattles, otherwise I've destroyed my rattle. Something I probably should have mentioned is that when you've got dissimilar woods here connected on a lathe, very often what you'll have is woods of different densities, or woods that tend to grab more on the tools. And so you have to have a very light touch when you're rounding this stuff off, because it's very easy for a softer piece of wood to dig, for the metal to dig underneath a softer piece of wood and grab that hard piece of wood and just grab a chunk and yank it right out. So a really light touch on some of these woods is pretty necessary with these blanks. Okay, now that I have these layout lines in here, this gives me a very good idea of where those cavities are inside the rattles. And so I have to make sure that I don't cut too deeply into there, and I have to remember how big that hole is so that I don't cut into those cavities. This is a beading tool. This is one of my favorites. This is something else that really does need a light touch. When you're running this in here, these tips can heat up very fast, heat being the enemy of all things metal. So you want to just take a light touch, light passes in, and let this tool cool off on a regular basis. Another thing that you can do when you're using a beading tool is to take a different tool and cut away some of the excess that's on either side of the bead that you're trying to create, and that creates less friction and it's a little bit easier on the tool. This is just plain mineral oil. And then the mineral oil and the beeswax. And now I'm just going to have to cut this free from the blank and sand the ends and finish the ends. And I already cut these down to the smallest possible amount so that it won't show as much. And then this thing will be done. And here's our finished rattle. You should definitely experiment with your own different shapes and styles to make something that's uniquely yours.
Pet Dad Woodshop.